Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview. This time covering VCT Americas Stage 2 for Week 3. My guest at this time is NaturE of Evil Geniuses, this time coming off of their match against G2 Esports, in which they came out on the losing end 2-1 to thus sit with a 1-2 record overall so far in this stage. And so, NaturE, thank you so much for the opportunity for the interview. And of course, fortunate that it's coming off of a defeat at the hands of G2. So, first and foremost, what I want to ask you is what's going through your mind? How are you feeling? How are you processing the result just now?
I'm not too happy with the result. Obviously, I think the series should have been ours, and there's a lot of different ways how it could have been ours. Uh, the last two maps obviously don't show in the score line, but I think the biggest issue was just us not dominating, closing out the first map because we were dominating the entire time, and that's kind of where my head is at right now. It's like if we made that win, what it should have been the 13-5, 13-6, 13-7, one of these three, 100% should be these things. Uh, then how do those other two maps look? But we almost even choked to make it to go OT. It was 4v1, and Trent almost won on Corrode. So those types of things, letting those rounds slip is just making the game harder on ourselves for the next two maps. So that's kind of where my head's at right now.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned it right then and there that I want to ask you for the second question of this conversation. It kind of felt like from the end of World and in the manner in which you guys dropped that series, the momentum snowball in G2's favor, and you guys weren't able to just find a sense of coming back, right?
Yeah, there was no like stabilizing factor really for us. We couldn't stabilize on attack side Haven. Definitely my fault. A couple of them we should not have lost like the anti eco really early on. It was so free. We knew, like we knew this is gonna happen. They're gonna push down mid. We knew it. And just losing that when we know it's gonna happen, we're all ready for it is very frustrating. Along with that, just not being able to stabilize like the next following rounds either. Uh, really ruined it since we already lost some of our momentum not closing out the first map so fast. So then we talk about the snowball all the time. The snowball just was negative for us from finishing map one to all the way to map three.
No, yeah, most definitely. I mean, obviously, you're going to look at what went down and kind of correct on that for the next matchup in the EG schedule. And what I want to now ask you is the map veto phase that you guys were on. Obviously, with how it went down, we ended up playing Haven and Ascent. Haven, of course, your map selection, and the Crowd, a map that G2 has not really been playing that much, except for today. And so that brought about plenty of questions as to like why go for this option when G2 has been fairly strong in Haven and Ascent, and leaving Ascent also as the final map of the series. So as the IGL, and your I want to know your thought process behind the team's decision to go that route in the map veto phase and so on and so forth.
Well, I would say first off, it's all like really, really team dependent. But yes, G2 might be very strong on these maps, but we are also feeling the same way as them. We're feeling like even like last week when we lost to Xenon and Haven, like we demolished on attack, and it honestly should have been even better attack than 8-4. We tossed the rounds that we that we lost. Pretty much in control the entire attack side on Haven last week. So we're really confident going to the map on attack. It obviously did not work out, hindsight, but defense is what we focused on. There was a lot of things to talk about, us not communicating with each other, getting stuff done, like together, and not to go too far into detail, but that was like a majority of our talk. So we were really confident picking Haven, just because with all the map pool changes, I mean, things are rough for a lot of teams. They're thinking about what is their best map pick right now, and that's kind of probably how a lot of teams have felt in these last couple of weeks. They're like, we think this is our map pick. This is really good for us in scrims types of things, but that's not always how it goes in matches for sure. In terms of like the whole map pool, I was pleasantly surprised that they picked Corrode, to be honest. Just because I think they struggled on defense. Was it defense or attack? One of the sides. I'm sorry, I'm misremembering. Last week they got like demolished, but then they were making a comeback. But I wouldn't choose that to be my map pick after that type of performance that they had last week. You know what I mean? So I was surprised. But obviously they had a plan because they were really trying to work on it after they got demolished on the one side. And then, I mean, in terms of a sense, just a map three type of map. Like in a majority of these series that we see, it's like bind, ascent type of things. Like these are just map threes that have to be happening. Most teams just are comfortable on one of these to be the last map of the series.
Brought up a one aspect in your answer that I want to put more into focus on, how teams are dealing with the map pool in in the state of the game right now at this point of the season. You know, as you guys are in a dogfight to qualify for playoffs and then continue on this journey on to champions and all that stuff. Where do you look at EG's understanding slash strength slash understanding of the map pool? Do you feel like it's still work in progress or anywhere else?
I would say it's developing fast. Like it's obviously a work in progress. I don't think there's a single team that's like, oh, they either don't have a permaban or they have two maps that are kind of iffy. So they're like, we can let this map float against this team, but we have to let the other map float against another team. That's how probably most teams are thinking right now. I would say majority of teams, maybe the teams that have qualified for champs, Sen and G2, they're like, we can play all 7 maps, doesn't matter, let's do it. Like they're super confident in it. But I would say majority of teams and us, we're still, it's a work in progress, but we're very confident still in what we can play. Developing is very difficult. I mean, there was a ton of map changes, very like instantly into Split 2. It was pretty, I would say, awkward transition, but we'll show that it's going to be good for us.
What's the confidence level that you guys are able to string it all together? You know, because of course this is we're already at the halfway point of stage two, and now we're approaching week four, week five, last 2 matches for you guys to get yourselves in playoffs. So, what's the confidence that you guys are going to be able to get it done with the pressure? I would say beginning to mount week by week for you guys to do well.
I would say our confidence level should be good. I mean, I look at them and I said we just didn't have fun the maps 2 and 3 because we let Corrode get so close. But when we're confident, I mean, we saw Demolition Derby out there in Corrode. We were just bullying little kids, is what it felt like. So as long as we go with that mentality on every map against any team, that's the confidence level we need to have, and it's high. That I know that anybody that watched that game saw that it was high confidence that started that map.
Yeah, I want to now kind of focus on the positives of this team that you guys showed on today. Obviously, like one part of it is Ye's chamber, and obviously, with the changes into the meta regarding that agent, I remember there was one quote tweet that he put in saying, "Oh yeah, back," or he's back, or so on and so forth.
Yeah.
What kind of opportunities does that present to you guys that allows you to put Ye on Chamber or also another match, as we saw Ye on the Jet, and how much does that kind of open up the team's game or playbook for this stage specifically?
I would say it opens up a lot. Ye is very vocal, very opinionated on the way he wants to play the game, and I think that's just really good for like pretty much all 5 players. We should all want to have certain aspects that we want to bring into the game, and he's just very vocal about it. So it opens up an entire different playbook that I myself coach. Everyone has to grasp and get our understand where he's coming from, so that we can get our game plan to also work with him, get him comfortable, stuff like that. So that's probably the best way I can really answer the question. Is I mean he's very vocal, so it makes the playbook very wide.
And obviously, like G2 is a team that has been a thorn to EG's side so far in this season. Obviously, I remember back in stage one, you guys were close to making a Toronto and all that stuff. Obviously, G2 is a much different version now compared to back then with the inclusion of Baby Bay. What did you see in the difference between facing off against G2 and back then and today?
I would say there's probably just more of a surprise factor. I mean, Baby Bay, Andre, any way you want to say it, he brings that type of hype that Leaf. He laughs, he gets excited. Everyone's seen his voice comms and stuff like that. He's fantastic when he calls, he helps. You watch any voice comms video, and that's who Leaf is. But he's also very very responsible. Not to say that Baby Bay isn't responsible, but he's known as the SME guy. You know what I mean? So like he brings that little bit in when he wants to go, and there's nothing else that's going to stop him. He's going and he's telling them to go in. And when he gets hype and everything, that there's just that different type of aspect that he's bringing to that roster right now. And that's the difference you see in the server for sure. I mean, they brought back Corrode. I don't. let's say it was the same scoreline where it's like 12-6, 12-7. I know when I go watch back and there's a comms video of him, he's going to be trolling in the comms for sure, laughing and stuff like that. I don't know if Leaf would for sure do that. I think he would be very confident just, talking normally, but he's still hyping his squad up at 12-7 to try to make this comeback happen type of deal. And that's who Baby Bay is, Uh, that's just a clear difference. He's definitely a huge surprise factor compared to Leaf. Leaf is very responsible and fantastic in his role, though.
Most definitely. Now going putting the attention back onto your team for this last question. Next week sees you guys face off against Sentinels. I would say it's probably the most important match of the season for you guys. How are you going to look at the match ahead and this upcoming opponent next week?
Well, for them, they seem very hungry still, even though they've qualified. They qualified this week. Everyone was saying we don't care about the qualification, in terms like on Twitter and stuff like that, saying like they just want to win this split, win out completely, and demolish. And that's respect, to be honest. Like we know that going in, they're gonna try hard as fuck, and we got to try 10 times harder. You know what I mean? We're on the back foot now. It sucks. There's definitely been a lot of growth in some areas, and then when you grow somewhere, you're going to regress in some areas as well. So we're just going to have to try to make that balance, not so much this, but like full up and up. The regression doesn't happen, and we full growth for this next week. We learn from the mistakes we made, but also, again, I think the biggest thing is just to have fun on the fucking stage. You know what I mean? Excuse my language, but like we just need to enjoy ourselves and enjoy the moment.
Of course, the important thing is to control yourselves and do so in a way that can get you guys up to speed to where you guys want to be in next week, and hopefully you guys are able to do that in due time. And so, NaturE, thank you so much for the opportunity, for the interview, and all the insight as always. Really appreciate the time that you've given me also for this interview, and of course, best of luck goes to yourself and the rest of the team for next weekend and everything beyond that.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.